This is a gloves off, abridged version of a few of my lessons on podcasting that I have on my podcasting course, which is coming out soon or already out, depending on when you're watching this. This is basically a guide for you to self-assess your content while taking a few hard truths that no one else is willing to say. And when I say gloves off, I mean it. I'm not pulling any punches here. So are you ready? Let's find out why your podcast sucks. First up, you aren't editing enough. Yes, all podcasts need editing. You need to go in and pace out the conversations. You need to remove crutch words. So it's about mouth noises, false starts, stutters, all the things. These things quickly become exhausting to listen to. And if your goal is to have people stick around for more than an episode, you need to clean it up. Don't give me the BS about it sounding natural or that you're creating something you want to listen to. Raw audio is garbage, flat out. Broadcast professionals who do this for a living get edited. You are not special. It's lazy, and if you keep doing it, you're going to get nowhere. Take some pride in your content and learn how to package it in a way that represents the quality you want to deliver. Even those podcasts that sound super conversational and not edited at all, some of those have the most editing. A lot of this and almost everything else I talk about in my course comes down to stop wasting people's time. Which leads us gloriously into the next reason your podcast sucks. You don't prep, or you just don't prep enough. Now, I get it. You want to just wing it. Some of your best stuff comes off the cuff. You think that being organized cramps your style. Prep is for people that can't concentrate. You are wrong on every level. When you lack the appropriate prep, you sound dumb. So tell me about that thing you've been doing lately. So it was about 15 years ago. Was it 15 years ago? I think it was about 15. Was it maybe 14? No, I think it was 15 years ago. Was it? Okay, wait, let me call my mom. You stumbling through conversation in constant repetitive language sounds horrible, and everyone can hear it. Literally take a few minutes to outline your thoughts. If you don't have more than 2 minutes of stuff to talk about before your brain taps out and you start to riff on the fly, you are painful to listen to, and you're just pushing people away. Keep your notes close, and when you start to hear that gerbil running in the wheel, glance down to stay on track. Again, stop wasting people's time. Generally, the same people that don't prep are also the ones that don't like to edit. This one ranks up with that too, as being just lazy behavior. Your listeners deserve better. Then next up is on the other end of things, it's doing too much and trying to create a longer product for the sake of consistency. You get this question a lot in my position. How long should my podcast be? The answer to that is it should be as long as it needs to be. It's true. Consistency is actually really important, but if you're shooting for an hour-long podcast and you only have 45 minutes of content, stop trying to drag it out. Welcome back to Scary Stories with Aiden. First, though, we're going to be going around the table and talking about what our favorite beer is for at least 16 minutes, because no reason. Filler content does not do anyone good. And generally that filler ends up being the beginning of the podcast, which only serves to distract people away from what the podcast is about. Get straight into your content and stop making people wait, which leads us to the next point. Stop the ego blasting at the beginning of your podcast. The long introductions, the stupid small talk questions, the idiotic banter between friends. So how's it been going, man?
I've been okay, long week at work.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild, man. It was a big week last week
No, I don't
at work,
think so. I think this is, that thing that happened, remember that? That was awesome, yeah. Other than that, doing pretty good.
No one cares. And I'm going to expand on that. No one cares about you. You are nothing to the people that are tuning in. The most important part of your show is your content. People took a chance on your podcast because they're interested in the product that you promised with your title and your thumbnail. This is the biggest cardinal sin of content creation, and there is no one worse than podcasters. Within the first 30 seconds of your podcast, you should be addressing the subject of the content and start the conversation. Remember, not a single new person clicked on it because you're the face of the podcast. Drop the ego and let the content bring the new listeners in. Whenever I do a critique of a podcast that can't figure out why people don't stick around, This is usually the first thing I notice. And it isn't just the beginning of the podcast either. Rants and detours are okay to a degree as you get into the story, but you need to temper the amount of personal stories that are being dropped. If I tuned in to hear about your thoughts on the hockey game from last night, and you're dropping down a 20-minute talk about walking your dog, I'm probably noping out. This bears repeating. No one cares about you, and no one started listening to your podcast for you. Put your ego in your back pocket and focus on the subject. And lastly, and this is more of a tip to solve many of those problems if you're a group podcast, assign and stick to your roles. Have a host, have a reactor, and have a researcher. Those are the three main roles for an entertaining content. One person driving the show, one person is the reaction or the color commentary, and one person that is able to research through the show if necessary. Those last two roles can be combined if need be, but make sure people know their role and they stick to it. Most specifically, every show should only have one host.
So coming up next, we have something to. Oh, dude, that reminds me. Okay, but first we're gonna.
You know what?
This.
It just gives it's 2 minutes, okay, dude. It reminds me of something. I'm gonna forget.
But just hang on. We'll
Okay,
put
you know
that-
what? You
put that a
just
little
suck.
bit later.
What?
We've gotta-
You know
we've
what?
gotta
You
think.
can't
Come on.
host a show. I'm the host.
Okay, let's do it.
There's nothing worse than having more than one person try to drive the show. It's cringy, and it isn't the time for a power struggle. That, though, is pretty much it for now. I do expand quite a bit of this in the podcast program that I'm coming up with. And if you're interested in finding ways to integrate some of these things into your workflow, check it out. It's going to be called How to Build a Monetized Podcast. It's coming soon, or it's already out, depending on when you're watching this. Cheers. Thanks for watching.
So the thing is, it's actually really cool, and it's so cool